Good morning, friends on the interwebs. I'm Rachael Blaske.
And I'm Julie Ahern.
And today's topic is how heavy is your book bag? Convention load in. So Julie and I are veterans of the board game industry and going to chat over a good cup of coffee discussing this topic that we feel is an important part of being a board game publishing company, all the while discussing your comments and questions in the live chat because you're invited and you're here and everybody's ready to talk.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Arcane Wonders, whose new version of Air, Land, and Sea, Critters at War, will be premiering at Gen Con. In this two-player game, the critters battle for control over each theater of war, playing battle cards and strategically using their adorable and vicious special abilities to gain their advantage. Whoever controls the most theaters claims the most victory points and wins the war. Once released, this game and all of Arcane Wonders games can be found at your friendly local game store or wherever you choose to shop.
Adorable yet vicious, cute yet stabby.
Yes.
All right, guess what, guys? We're going to talk about a lot of amazing things today, and you're going to want no one to miss this. So here's your chance to share. I'm still loving all of these. This is just the best 90s ever. Oh, so good. Love summer. Okay, so you've got a ton of good news for us to catch up on.
Well, I just have friendly reminders for helpful tips, convention-wise. Convention Watch 2021.
2021.
So, deadlines for Origins. The events just passed on Wednesday. You're late if you haven't set up your events. However, they are still accepting late events for several more weeks, or 2 more weeks, I believe. So just if you have more events that you need getting in, get them in. Do the thing. And I will say that the helpful hint, if you're a publisher and you also rented tables, please make sure you don't get to pick it in their interface, which is, let's put it, it's extensive. There's a lot of different pages and you have to save on each page. It's a process, friends. So it takes a little bit of time, which you can't duplicate. So if you have multiples of the same type of game and just on different times, that is really helpful. But then also when you pick your tables, you're going to pick the size table you're looking for. And what I have done is sent a friendly, helpful reminder to Chris, who's organizing it, to use my table that I have spent money on to make sure that the events are at my branded table. So if you're doing that, you're going to have to call it out. So that's my friendly, helpful hint for Origins Game Fair. And then for Gen Con, today is the last day you can put in for badges deadline. I'm sure they're going to extend it, but try to get it in so that there aren't any weird mishaps. On the 2nd, your insurance is due. If you haven't gotten an email about that, make sure to follow up with your convention coordinator. And on the 4th, the exclusivity list is due. And by that, I mean, if you don't want your games being sold at, say, any of the major retailers who will be there, they will send them a list and they remove those items from it. And so if you don't have that list, all bets are off and your product is being sold probably at a lesser price than at your booth.
Right.
And that is not usually a desired result. So make sure you get those things in.
Fair. Did you, since we have mostly publishers, you'd mentioned something about Origins panels. Is that something that is still able to be turned in?
Yes. So for the education track at Origins, they are still looking for a few publisher-facing panels, not panels, I should say, because it's not going to be a panel. It's going to be you, maybe 1-2 people going through and doing an education process. They're usually a half an hour to 45 minutes long, so not a ton of time. And I am meeting with Dawn Studebaker, who is coordinating that And of course, because Donna is coordinating it, Retailer is done and beautiful, and she reached out to me for some help on the publisher side. And so those are not completed. So if you are interested and think you have a topic that other publishers would be better for knowing that information and would like to share it at Origins, please contact me, Julie@greenbriergames.com. I would love to have you talk and educate your peers.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I love the commercials. This is great.
Yeah.
Now, everybody knows that you could, in the past, click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner to choose to be notified. But now we've got this beautiful little bell, just a la YouTube. So make sure that you click on that if you would like to be notified every time we go live. And we'll also have a link to our YouTube account in the description box below so that you can subscribe and find our archive shows after streaming. And again, another little plug, because we did have a few more subscribers after this last one. As convention season gets started, we're probably going to be doing little bits of tips and tricks, little.
We're not going to be doing full episodes during convention season.
Right.
Friday mornings, we're going to be in the booth.
So we're going to probably be doing things that are not real time, but we will upload as we're able to. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because otherwise you're going to start missing some stuff.
Thanks.
All right. So we're load in. Load in is a majorly technical topic. And oh, hey, I should turn off the overlay. Okay, cool.
Doing it.
So that's super technical topic. Also, last week we went long and we still didn't cover everything.
So we're going to wrap up last week's conversation, and then we're going to talk about load-in. And we're going to try to be concise, but that's we try that every week. And sometimes we succeed, and then sometimes we don't.
One of the things that I wanted to cover last week that we didn't get to is play to wins. Since we kind of gear this towards the new publisher as well as veterans, play to wins, I can explain, are when you donate your games to a convention and they list them as a play to win. And what they do is that kind of works into their library, and people can check out your game to play it. And every time they do, they get like a little, it's like an entry in a raffle. If you play
like a lottery, right?
Yes, exactly. It's entered into the raffle to win that game. So for example, my son Teague, he is 12, and last year he discovered A Kid in a Shuffle from Watzelbook. It is the most adorable thing ever.
It is so cute.
It is so cute.
Yes.
And he checked it out from the library using his little badge like 7 times and replayed it each time so that he could enter to win it. We didn't win, but somehow we survived. But that is what we're doing with your game. So A, it gets them played, and B, it gets them into somebody's home. So if you are ever approached to do a play to win program, that's kind of how that works. And like, for example, Geekway, they usually have a standard of 6 titles are donated, and because they have a larger amount.
Yes, also the Envoy Double Exposure program has a set play to win system. So if you're part of the Envoy publisher family, then you're probably very familiar with this, because they have a set, do you want to, do you not want to, and then send you emails about when to send games to specific shows and which specific games, which you've coordinated with them, what games in your library are offered. So if you're going to do this, also remember, you're probably going to want to do this with your games that are a lighter weight, easier accessibility, because people who are playing these tend to want to sit down, play the game, move on to the next game, because they're of the mindset of playing a lot of games, so they're entered into a lot of different raffles. But it is still, it gets your game played a lot, and not every game is. So Geekway to the West is an exception to that rule. When they do a play to win, they have a lot of alpha gamers there to play and who want some of the newer, bigger, heavier titles. So I tend to send so Bears gets sent out a lot of times. I know Ninja Dice in the past has Burger Up, but for them, it was Champions of Horror and Folklore.
Yeah.
So
I got the package, so I'm all excited.
Yeah.
And I think you might even be sending me some Barbaria. So I am really a huge proponent of this program because I see so many people that get your game into their hands, and because they have that incentive. Kurt in the comments said, after 6 plays, did you end up buying it instead? Well, after my poor 11-year-old was crushed and so sad that he did not win, yeah, I totally am gonna, yep. I didn't get it then, but he actually remembered it from last year and is going to try and win it again this year, and is he's all in. He's like, this is the coolest thing ever.
But that is the question that a lot of publishers have is, okay, so of the people who are any of them going and then purchasing, because that is kind of our incentive to,
of course,
to send them.
And I think that is something that
another incentive to do one of these programs is something that we also talked about is, does your convention offer any amount of information about number of plays, how popular was the game, how long the average of play times, any sort of analytics that you can offer, so that if you're not getting games purchased out of this, are you getting feedback on the level of popularity of your game? Anything, pictures of your game being played for marketing. What are some other incentives that a convention can offer for their play to wins?
Absolutely. And I since we were just talking about this before we went live, and we were talking about the fact that that is desired information that I hadn't even really thought through as a publisher. I should have, but like I get kind of stuck in the middle between organizing and that. So if you are using tabletop.events as a small convention, there is that that capability within the library software that we can pull reports. We usually do pull reports to see what the overall out of the library, what the most popular games were, so that we can then add additional to the library the next year, or so that there's less of a
so the convention itself might be purchasing from you based on your play to win.
Exactly. So
there you go.
And again, that kind of segues to library, being that if your games are being played, they will maybe find a new favorite that they want to go buy from themselves, and so that's always awesome to support the local gaming community by sending your games as a play to win, as well as an extra copy for the library itself, so that we keep that for the next year, if that is how your convention is run. What about, go ahead.
So same kind of thing. So events planning on the publisher side, events planning. So you're not doing a play to win, but you're also planning events for your own games.
Right.
And to that end, are you coordinating your play to wins or your own events? What events are you running? And this is a little bit trickier because this takes some time in advance to know, all right, so these are the games that I'm running full games of, or the convention is doing a play to win, or somebody, I know that this game is popular and I've seen that other people have created events around this game. Am I making sure that I have product in stock? If it's a hot game and it's selling very quickly, have I coordinated with my warehouse to hold aside a certain amount of them so that that product is available for sale at the convention? And is it worthwhile to me versus, say, selling it into either mass market or hobby market? So you're thinking about that when you're planning your events as well. So events it can be real simple. You can have one game and you're just playing it because you're new and you're just, this is my game, this is what I'm playing. Once you've been around for a while, you're like, okay, how much is it worth my while to play older titles? Are they going to be purchased? Am I doing it for more just a reminder? So you're doing a little bit more targeted with your events planning. So for example, Gen Con this year, our Folklore, The Affliction, The Fall of the Spire came out recently. And at Gen Con, the miniature creature crate, which is a brick. It just fits in a calyx that's full of miniatures. It's forged drawers, so it looks like a little mini chest and with little pull-out drawers, and each of them has miniatures so the top drawer is the core games, the miniatures. That the second one is Dark Tales, the next one is the Fall of the Spire, and then the last one, it was all of the bonus promo miniatures that we've done over the years. So it's a complete buy all the miniatures month creature crate. It's a beast. That will be available for the first time at Gen Con. So we're playing a lot of Folklore, which we do most years because for the last 6 years, it's been our flagship title game. But we're upping the Fall of the Spire, which is the new release. So that was a thing. How much of it do I want to do in the games of the Fall of the Spire general public? And I decided I did not want to do that. I am doing events of core Fall of the Spire for the general public for new people coming in. And then I am doing a single Fall of the Spire event for 100 people, a massive event that I'm terrified because I'm going to be up in cosplay and basically DMing 20, 30 tables. Yeah. It's gonna be a hoot, friends. To make it a very specific thing, to make it more of an event. I made that as a conscious decision that I wanted one targeted Fall of the Spire massive event, and then general folklore being the one that's more widespread available. Because I feel like getting more people in the game would be the core game, and then the people who already have everything who want to do the one big event, doing it as one consolidated massive thing that I have to be present for, because I can't be present for everything.
Right.
I'm running the booth. So that was a targeted thing. And then for Origins, Tales of Barbaria will have just been released. So that's our big thing. And because I wasn't sure of the timing because of shipping, I chose to instead do a Barbarian Battlegrounds tournament where the winner gets prizes, including Tales of Barbaria, but you get a discount for entering the tournament towards Tales of Barbaria, the new release title, and pins and other swag, but I'll talk about that later. So nice. I planned my events very specifically, or at least some of them, and then some of them it's just, hey, who do how experienced is my demo team? What are their preferences? What are they going to be excited about? How much of that product and how much of it is worth it based on trends and marketing? So it's a sliding scale of what you pick.
Right.
And you have to do that all before the deadline. And then you have to plan accordingly for what you're ordering.
So if you were to reverse engineer the timeline for events planning, what are you thinking it would, when should you be thinking about that, and then make sure that it's all organized in your head so that it's ready to be entered by deadlines?
I start thinking about it the day that the events open up.
Okay.
As like I've planned it before, the dates that the convention gives me, when they say, well, this is the day that we're going to start allowing events to sign up, is when I start looking at what product is coming out, when is it supposed to arrive, which is why it's always a nail biter, because again, I didn't know if bears would be here in time. Right. And so for me, Lost Ones will not be here in time. So by even a close margin, so I'm going to have to air freight specifically copies just for playing. It will not be for sale, but it's still worth it to me to get, because those are two major conventions. So the only way you can play it will be at the games that you can sign up to demo it. And those are sold out already, because people, you're going to get to play it, but you won't be able to order it, and you can pre-order it online. You won't be able to purchase it still. But I wanted it to be available to play, so people will be prepared to know, so that they're thinking about it.
Right.
But I didn't know that months ago, because I didn't know that, where is it? This little guy right here would be so much trouble. This would be the insert that had to get redone. So there it is. There it is, friends. This is why Lost Ones is so late. I keep it right there so I can hit it sometimes. You don't know, so you try to plan, but when you have one product, it's a little bit easier to do when you're newer. When you start doing games and you're releasing them very regularly, what is plan A, what is plan B, what is plan C, and you're doing that before the convention even starts there so that you can start thinking about it and how are you going to mitigate each one. So yeah, I put in all these Lost Ones events, and then I realized that the Lost Ones wasn't going to make it in time, but I still have to have the game for those events.
Yeah, lots to consider on that. One of the other things that last week we didn't touch on, which is hugely important as part of the planning process, not load in. Like if you get to load in and you are still talking about, you're just thinking about this, the ship has sailed. Setting meetings. As a person who is in sales and networking and like my job is to get meetings with distributors, get meetings with foreign partners, get meetings with if I'm doing marketing, you've got media appointments that you need to set. There are so many different things that you need to do, and then there's always people who don't want to do that, and they want to walk up while you're trying to sell at the booth. And Julie, how do you feel about that?
I have an amazing booth staff. I have an amazing booth staff this year and in years past. So what I do is, so yes, if even come up to me and try to cold sell me at my booth, I'm not interested because if it's a smaller convention, that's a different story. If it's a massive convention, if you're at Essen or Origins or Gen Con and you try to come up and cold sell me on your product, I'm no. Just no. But I have an amazing booth team who tends to, it's like having generals in your army. It's great. They close ranks and they're like, hi, can I help you?
Right. Just
oh
right
my
in
goodness,
front of
what you doing here? Oh, you're a manufacturer. That's so exciting. What manufacturer are you from? Oh, do you have a card? Great. She'll get back to you. Thank you.
Right.
And that's amazing because yes, if you're at a massive convention doing that, you're too late. You should be emailing well in advance. And in this day and age, especially after the year, almost 2 years now, we've just a year and a half we've had, communication online has gotten very advanced, friends.
Yes.
If you need to reach out to me, you can do it, and I will respond via the interwebs.
Right.
So yes, that is not the time to do it. Same with designers. If you're trying to go around and be like, here's my game. Do you want to look at it? Cold at a massive convention, you're gonna get a lot of it. And yes, some people still think it's worth it because maybe they'll get the one or two people who are polite enough to or have the time and care because you're new and trying, but their focus is not on your game.
Right.
They're not. So schedule those things in advance, please. For us, Will Sobel has set up times. He has a scheduled event list and he is looking to look at your pitches. So he's Will at greenbargames.com. If you want to do that, is the person you should be going to for that. So that is also very important.
And I just wanted to throw in a tip about using a meeting scheduler because a lot of people don't want to do that. Insert blink twice if Julie hurts.
Insert is blinking very rapidly. I just want you to know.
I've used a variety of different ones. There are so many different types. The ones that I would recommend are ones that can handle multiple calendars. I personally have like a personal calendar, a work calendar, and then if I have a specific company a client that I'm working with, I usually have a separate calendar for that. And they all have to kind of mix and check across it. So like multiple calendars, it should be able to check. And if you are going to be taking meetings with somebody else on your team, then you need to have some way to add them to your meeting scheduler so that it will check their calendar also. Or if there's people on your team that all can handle something, there is round robin scheduling where it will just go through and check for the first available person during that time, if it's something that anyone could handle in that set. And you can set that up all by meeting type. And so that's something that, especially during peak convention times, that is definitely something that we could that is worth the $15 to $20 a month to have that membership going, a subscription going during those times. So
Yeah.
and the one that I use specifically right now is Calendly, and I put the information in the description box, the link. So I see you going through some amazing comments.
Yeah, I was just reinforcing some of our talks. I
Absolutely.
thought those were all very on point.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true. Well, cool. I do you have any meeting tips before? Like, obviously you do it beforehand.
Do it beforehand. And if you're a publisher, know where you're meeting. You know, I get, like, if you're a massive company, you can rent a separate office or space in the hall and send people there, and that's cool. If you're not, and you're planning on meeting in your booth, have a set dedicated space. You don't want to be sitting there with somebody demoing your game to a group of people and then be like, hey, can you guys leave? So that you can have a conversation. Have a dedicated space. Even if it's a small, like I think my favorite was, I bought from IKEA in the discount area. They had like one of those like rolling bar made out of wood, and we constructed it because it was tall enough. And so it was like underneath, it had little baskets underneath, and I put like snacks in it, and that was our meeting space. And now it's down in my kitchen. It was too heavy and very awkward to move around, or I would have kept it, because it was it's very Parisian of me. I was like, nice. Oh, please sit. Would you like a cafe? We were talking. I was very fancy that year, but have some sort of dedicated space, and it doesn't have to be big. If you're looking at game designs, you probably want something big enough that they can put out their actual game, because you're going to want to actually play it a couple rounds. So, but if it's for meetings with, like you said, manufacturers, logistics, you don't need a big space, but right. You need a dedicated space, and have a dedicated folder for putting all those flyers and programs and business cards, because otherwise you're going to take them and they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone. So, and I always had that set up.
I always had one of those little, the little tall tables. Why am I not thinking of what the names of them are? Like they're almost like a cocktail table. But when I was doing demos to media, I would keep it on a real small table that was up higher, countertop height, so that way it was easier for me to show them. And yes, so
I would like to so this is something that also can happen if you're at a convention. It's not just other business people trying to get your business. You're going to have people who like the game who want to talk to you about your games. And this is a little bit trickier, but it's still, if you're a publisher, especially if you're a publisher who's a designer or somebody where you have a fan coming up during your meeting that wants to talk to you about their game, it's okay to set boundaries. You can do it politely. So for me, I go into Teacher Julie mood, and I'm like, thank you so much for your interest in fill in the blank game. I really appreciate your interest. I'm in a meeting right now, so I'm going to have to ask you to leave, and I will talk to you later. And then I cease to recognize their presence. But you have to take the initiative. You can't let the media person or the manufacturer or the person if you've scheduled a meeting who you've already promised your time to, be the one to take the initiative on that. You have to be the one to do it.
Absolutely. And in the interest of the backing up in reverse engineering timelines, when you're setting your meetings, I start doing it 2 months before the con. Like, that's when I start to kind of make my list of who I need to talk to, and then start those conversations and send out those invitations and things like that. So just to make sure, because like when you get to 3 weeks before, everybody's already booked.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's now, load in.
let's talk load in, because
Sure.
this is all you, babe. This is
Yay!
you have perfected this to an art, and I am just going to bask in your
I don't know
presence.
about that, but I've done it a
So,
couple times now.
coordinating shipping. That sounds very complicated and terrifying. Can you please walk us through it?
All right. So, any convention I have been to, literally something that was at a like 4-H barn with stalls, and I have been to the biggest board game conventions that exist and everything in between. Whatever it is, you're going to have to go to your logistic partners, where the warehouse where your games are, unless you even if you are the person that warehouses them, and plan when they're going to ship. Now, if you yourself are doing them, you just have to worry about your own games. But if you are working with a company that handles a lot of business, don't leave it to the last minute. They have to coordinate shipping for so many companies, and you are one of many, many, many perhaps. So you have to plan that. You have to know, and not just how much product and how many pallets and the freight cost for that, but where is it going? Because when you ship, you think, well, I just ship it to the convention. Well, okay. If it's a tiny convention, you're shipping it typically to the hotel, and the hotel is holding it, and you have to contact that hotel so they don't just go, what is this, and chuck it after a couple days. Many are very familiar, especially if they're doing conventions, not to do that and to hold it for a certain period of time, but not all. And not every convention, not every hotel employee is on board and understands every time if they have a new employee. So you need to know where you're shipping to and what the receiving end of that is going to look like. The only way around that, friends, is to get a truck, go to the warehouse, and load it up yourself, which you can also do and is a viable option. And we'll get to that later. But you're planning it so that and for something like Gen Con, you're doing it super early. So you're shipping it to a warehouse here, and you're coordinating where that is going, because the convention center does so many conventions. You think that our convention is the biggest thing for us. A convention center handles many, many, many massive conventions, and they don't just have space to just hold it for a month while they're waiting for you to show up. So where are you shipping it to is the other important factor that you have to know. And then you're going to have to worry about, once it's here, how to get it from someplace, or here, I say here because I'm in Indianapolis, and I'm thinking Gen Con specifically right now. How are you going to get it from the warehouse that you shipped it to? Or I mean, if it's a smaller booth or something, maybe you're shipping it to a friend's house. Where are you shipping it to? And I have shipped. I've done every level of this. I have shipped it and with other doing it through QML, where they did all of their product and they were holding it and then brought it in because they're working also with cool stuff. I've worked with. I have physically gone and loaded up a truck. Well, I shouldn't say I have. I have helped load up the truck. Zach drove the truck. And then we physically unloaded it here in Indianapolis. I have mailed to hotels. I have mailed to, God, thank God for Jennifer Edwards, in Columbus, Ohio, for Origins, to her house. Her entire living room was full for a week, just full of my boxes. I've done every level of this, but you have to know where. You have to know. And sometimes you're doing it because you're making it's for the ease of getting it in. Sometimes you're doing it because you are trying to be fiscally responsible. You have to weigh all those factors. So coordinating shipping, know how long your logistics partners at the one end are going to need lead in time to know when you're shipping, and you have to know where it's shipping to. And then you have to figure out if they know that they're receiving it. Let them know. Don't just do it, which, by the way, happens a lot. It happens. I hear it so many times where suddenly a company, a warehouse company, a logistics company just gets product and nobody let them know it was coming. Let them know it's coming. For the love of toast. Let them know it's coming.
You know,
So
I'm just shaking my head at this because I don't have this experience because to me, I'm just like, well, why don't you make a product that you can fit 300 of them in your carry-on and just have everybody look at you like, wow, you really like having fresh breath. Like I've had so many strange conversations
right.
with airport security. But yes.
Yep.
So
And of course, there's a whole other tier of that when you're talking about
international.
something like Essen, because you're
Yeah.
also thinking about extra lead in time for potential customs problems, in unions. There's other factors. So know what the factors are for, and each one's going to be unique. So
Marion
I've had really small conventions where I'm like, yep, just a couple boxes and it's going to a hotel, and I call them up and they're like, cool, we'll have it in your room when you check in.
Marion here said something about drayage. Do you want to explain that real quick?
No, we'll get to that.
Okay, cool. All right. So, then looking at setup, once you get it there, how do you stay organized?
That's okay. And now we're here. Um, so, so when she's talking about drayage, she's talking about how do you get it from the warehouse into your actual booth.
Yeah,
So the small, that little,
that
it
transition.
seems so tiny. How are you going to get? Because that's a so. um, so there are several options here.
Okay.
But I will say, so drayage is. So I started to talk about it a little bit. Some hotels, it's just there it is. And by the way, would you like some luggage racks to carry it down to your booth and there's no additional fee? Then there's drayage, where people charge for the moving it from their receiving area to the booth space or the warehouse to your booth space. And that can be such a wide range of costs and coordination depending on how big the convention is, how bulked up their union is, what rules and regulations they have. And this is the hard part. I know. It's like, breathe. I know.
So much.
It's too soon. It's too soon to be talking about this, but here we are. So know what you're doing. If you're contacting Fern is going to FERN, is the receiving company that does a lot of the drayage and local, on the site problem solving. And they will do, if you're there and you need it, they will do it. They will charge you the maximum amount of money you can think of any of your options. Sometimes it is the option. Accept that. It is an acceptable loss if you get to the point and you need it, or if you're planning in advance because you're a major company and you need that. But go, any convention should have a link, and Fern will tell you their menu of services and what what they can do and what they can offer. Do not take it out on the person working customer service at Fern. They will not be amused and just make your life harder. Don't do it. Be pleasant to the Fern people. It is not their fault.
When you first told me about Fern, I thought it was person.
No, although
I didn't know.
secretly sometimes, because it's a lot of times if it is the person there, I am secretly thinking that their name is Fern. Thank you for that little insight into my brain.
I was literally picturing the person, the monster from Monsters Inc.
Yes.
And
Yes.
okay,
So
back to
So if you can avoid using Fern, I recommend you plan in advance. So something that I was going to talk about are caravans. Caravans is our really whimsical way of saying a bunch of people get together, all ship their stuff to the same warehouse. At that warehouse, somebody has taken point, usually a bigger company, to load up the truck and then physically unload the truck at the receiving end of the convention and bring the games or your booth setup, all that you have to your booth, and then split the fee, the cost of it, the cost of their truck rental, people's time. If you can find people to coordinate to do that, it is more cost effective. But somebody is going to be taking point on that, and they, also know that that's the person who's going to be responsible for your stuff until you receive it. If you want to be that person and coordinate that, more power to you. Bless your hearts for those companies in the world that take this on. But if you can do that, it will cost you a lot less money, to put it very bluntly. So reaching out to your logistics partner for shipping, they might have, if you don't know anybody that's doing it, they probably have a lead on who you could contact to try to plan that, because several companies consistently do that. So if you're at a bigger convention and that's what you're doing, great. If you're at a hotel, you're probably going to be at their mercy. So, whatever they choose to charge. So I can tell you, like, if you're going to Vegas for, say, Dice Tower West, every hotel in Vegas is very savvy, and you're going to be paying maximum drayage. So unless you know somebody who lives in Las Vegas who's willing to receive your product, that's a thing you're going to have to deal with. If you're going to middle of nowhere, the 4-H club barn, the local hotel probably will just send it to your room because they don't know any better. And
cough, GPPF.
Right. Yeah. But know in advance.
No drayage.
Know in advance what you're doing, or you're planning, and each convention in each location is going to be very different. And then there's also a PAX Unplugged. PAX Unplugged, the union for everything in Philly is up to 11. So they don't want you to do anything or handle anything you themselves. They are almost bullies about trying to take over for you and then charge you for it.
Now,
you're going to get a feel.
I want to pop this up really quick.
Yeah.
Jordan said he's been to a couple shows that offered free drayage. PAX Unplugged covered the cost, and C2E2. So they let him drive their van onto the convention.
I did not have that experience any time that I have gone. So
Got it.
I would love to talk to you about how that worked out.
Maybe you just looked pretty that day.
I had the opposite experience. So
awesome.
That's interesting.
Right.
I would love to hear about that. Cool. More about that.
So when you're, getting yourself all set up like this, one of the things that you usually do to stay organized is pay your fees for next year, right?
Yes. So all the stuff is in, and you're going to want to take a break, or you're going to want to start unpacking, unloading. I actually take a moment at this time, or somewhere around this time, to go sign up for the following year if I'm planning on attending the following year. And you're like, but this is so soon. Why would I do that? Because you're not going to want to do it at the end of the convention. And also everything shuts down as soon as the convention ends, and you're going to forget during the convention. Do it now.
Nice.
That is my gift to anybody and everybody. Do it now. Nobody is signing up at the beginning of the convention. There's a big long line the last day on Sunday when everybody's exhausted and everybody's cranky and everybody's yelling at that poor team who's just trying to take payment for the following year. Do it now. Just do it now. If it's a massive convention, you're going the next year, just do it now. If it's a smaller convention and you're weighing your pros and cons, maybe, but if you know that you're going to be attending the following year, go ahead and do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Set up somebody from your team who you love and trust to start counting boxes and making sure that the inventory is in there, and then go and pay your booth fee now. That's
cool.
That is something that is my gift to myself every year, because then come Sunday, I'm like, I have to. No, I don't.
I'm out. Good. We're good.
So
that's awesome.
That's my short and sweet piece of advice there.
Yes. Fees for next year. So, what else you got?
What else I got? No. So, again, to depends on the size of the convention, but know when load-in is. Know what days and times the hall is open and available. And if it's a coordinated thing where you have a specific day or time because they're doing it in groups, know what those are, but don't just show up then. Maximize your time. So if you have a medium size or smaller booth and you're one of the later ones that are supposed to be doing load in, still go in, check out your booth, especially if you're doing something like caravanning, because that's probably a bigger company that's going to drop off your stuff anyway. So you can still get started early. And that's useful. It's useful because instead of cramming something into 4 hours and being exhausted and hurting yourself, you can take the time to look through, to assess, to make sure your floor plan is going to work out. Maybe put down your flooring. You don't have to do it all at once. Just, do the starts of everything. If you are able to, do it. And then you're going to look around and be like, oh gosh, I don't have a table. I have to run to IKEA to get a fancy Parisian coffee cart. That's on, like, it was in the discount. You know how they have, like, up at the front by the,
Oh,
yeah, it was at the discount. I was just looking
Aesthetics
for
are
a table
important.
and I saw it and I was like, you're perfect. I love you. You're going, or, oh shoot, I need to run to Costco because we don't have water. You're going to, like, if you can go in early, even if you're not scheduled, go in early. Take an inventory of what's the last minute things and then go and since you're not scheduled till hours later or the next day, you now can go to Costco with a full understanding and scope of what you've forgotten and need to do. Yes, Marion,
Man.
I was going to talk about that,
Yeah.
but nobody is paying for a convention center's air conditioning during load in. Therefore, there isn't.
There is none.
I was at, what was it? It was a Chicago convention that was more based around video games.
C2E2?
Not C2E2.
Oh.
The other comic one in
Okay.
Chicago, where nobody had paid for the lights before, so they weren't going to turn on the lights, and we were supposed to do load in the dark.
Oh my gosh, safety issue.
And this was a massive convention at the Rosemont Convention Center, which is right by O'Hare Airport. It's huge. Wow. And I've gone to several conventions there, and they were trying to get people to load in the dark. And everybody was just kind of, they had opened all the bay doors so the natural light was coming in, and they were just trying to deal with it. And I went and found the security, like I didn't go to the
Customer
call
services.
services.
Yeah.
I went to the security booth and complained about how this was a security risk and people were going to get hurt and this was going to cause the convention center to get sued for damages when somebody broke their leg. And then the lights were on.
How funny.
Because I am a rogue at heart. Nobody else at the entire convention center thought to do this. Nobody. They were just dealing with it. These were like hundreds of booths. I have no idea what they were thinking. I was like, no.
No.
This is not. I wasn't even. I was there for like. I was there for a play to win, to help out at a play to win. I was like,
nice.
Yeah. So that you're going to be in adverse conditions. So this was, yes. Make sure you have water. Make sure everybody on your team is in a group text. And yes, that's going to be annoying for a couple days. And please let them know that after load-in not to use the group text. But during that time, use a group text to communicate with each other so that everybody knows where everybody is and nobody gets left behind. Have water. Right. Have so much water. Have more water than that.
Yeah.
Get the extra flat of water. And I know that, plastic is bad, but for load in, have water, right. Is what I'm going to say to that.
So many tips.
Yeah.
I knew you would come through.
Yep.
I did. And I think that our listeners here really appreciated it. We've had a
Thanks.
very, very
Thanks.
chatty group this morning. I love it.
Thanks.
Oh, so do we want to kind of wrap it up and go
Yeah.
into our top
I
tips?
think that was the majority of the stuff. Oh, but also know when your booth staff is coming. So that
Yes.
whole group text thing is leading into make sure you have effectively communicated with your booth staff when they are supposed to come, what the expectations are, how to hit the ground running, how to coordinate with you because did you ship them their badges or are they responsible? Is somebody supposed to be giving them badges because it's not going to be you? Hand it to somebody else and be like, hi, you are the first person here. You are the designated runner to go outside the hall to hand somebody their badge so they can come in the hall and help us. Don't make it yourself.
Right.
If you're the one coordinating the booth.
Right.
That was my last tip. Okay.
And obviously just plan to be there the whole day. Like just don't try and do other things that day.
Yep.
You're just not going to do it.
Yep.
So my top tip is to invest in a good calendar. I think that's really important in general. I started building out mine for Gen Con last night to make sure that I have availability where I need to be and give Julie all of my time that she needs. And now, so go ahead and check that out. You?
Yeah. Mine, I kind of just summed it up already.
Exactly. Hydrate.
Stay hydrated. Said to me at the very beginning, take a breath. Take a breath every once in a while. Just do a breathing exercise. Name 3 colors, name 3 trees, name 3 kitten types. And then finally prioritize. If at some point you have to come to the realization you may not get to everything. If you don't get to everything, the sky will not fall. What are the most important things? Stop focusing on fixing so that you have the perfect stack of your games and make sure you have taught your demo team how to play the games. Prioritize.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And comfortable shoes. Man, everybody knows. All right. So what do you have going on this week?
Weirdly enough, I've been doing convention planning.
And I love the graphic you chose to explain your convention planning this week.
Yes. I'm convention planning. So, like I said, deadline for Origins events was this week. And so getting all those in was rough. But then to reward myself, because we're doing this whole Bears tournament, I did a photo shoot for the marketing for it with this guy.
So cute.
Because the winner of the tournament is going to get a Build-A-Bear, which, by the way, this is not the final one. Sarah Sharp, who was from Panda, who was on our show, is making Sarah
Graybill.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sarah Graybill from Panda is making a barbarian costume to go on the bear. So the winner is going to get, this is their trophy.
Oh, it's so cute.
I know. And so doing a photo shoot with him was phenomenal. And then also planning out, people get to get prizes if they enter, and then and planning out all my happy little, look at this.
It's so cute.
One more. I can't stop there. I just can't. Can I get?
Oh, that's so cute.
So planning out all that and doing a photo shoot with him so that I can do some marketing stuff for it. And then all my online planning online convention stuff was what I was doing this week because there are a lot of people who won't be able to attend conventions. And so we're also planning on doing some online events and having some media people do some live plays during both shows.
Nice.
And doing some giveaways during the show so that people who Jen can't do not feel left out.
That's awesome. Man, there's so much to keep track of for sure.
So that's what I've been doing this week. And then, of course, I already gave you the deadlines at the beginning, but for anybody who missed it, make sure your insurance is for Gen Con and your exclusivity. That's due next week. And today is the last day to get your badges in for publishers. So make sure you've done it. That's what I've been
the
doing.
things.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this week I have been working on our convention here that is in about 2 weeks now. We were the last ones before the pandemic, and now we're going to be the first ones back. So we've been, figuring out t-shirts, and I waited too long to send out all my emails about play to wins. So hey, if you are a publisher that would like to send me play to wins and library copies, it would be amazing. And just ping me after this. I probably have already reached out to you.
Send you copies of games, you say?
Yeah. Uh, so
Hmm.
I might have sent in a few emails last night. And then also really quickly, it in mental health news, I mean, you got Simone Biles going right now, but I realized I can't do all the things. And so I'm taking a break from the Clubhouse networking room that I run. That's Let's Talk Tabletop every Friday at noon until the 20th when my kids go back to school, because there was just too many
And it's also the reason
issues.
why, it's also the reason why we're only doing one more episode this summer and then going on hiatus, because we just can't do all the things as much as I want to.
I need a clone, and I'm going to have to accept that I cannot do that. So
clone and 5 more coffees. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's awesome. And then next week is our last of this summer season, which is sad. It's already
the convention extravaganza.
Whew, it's amazing that we could spend 3 weeks on that go overtime on this. So next week it's like camp, but more. Convention is live. What do you do while it is in real
alive?
Time? So that's just how we are going to finish this out.
Yeah. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. This awesome session was sponsored this week by XYZ Game Labs. So once you're done here, go see all the cool things they're doing, especially for their new Kickstarter.
And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest, and links are all in the description box below.
Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And remember that next week, you're invited.